Hey, everybody. Welcome to another Playful Humans podcast. I'm your host, Mike Montague, and my guest this week is a professional speaker and musician. It's Jade Simmons. She's right there. You can check her out at jadesimmons.com or on Instagram, a really good follow there as well. For Playful Humans, if you want to rediscover the power of play, find out what your play personality is, you can go to playfulhumans.com/quiz. There's a BuzzFeed style quiz there. You take it. There's 10 possible playful personalities. You'll figure out which one you are and some ways to rediscover the power of play in your life. I'm really excited to talk to Jade Simmons. She's done everything from Miss America to music. We'll find out that next. Now the woohoos. All right, Jade, we like to start with the joke of the week here on the podcast. The joke of the week is brought to you by Blockbuster Movie Rentals. I got carded at the liquor store the other day and my Blockbuster card fell out. They said, never mind, we're good. But here's your joke. Why don't they play poker in the jungle?
I don't know, something about blind. I should have seen that one coming. Totally should have seen that coming.
Awesome. I'm so glad you're here, and I'm glad that we can talk about your favorite subjects of like leadership and purpose, and I think creative confidence too. You're an amazing musician and speaker. You were runner-up in the Miss America pageant, which is
years
incredible.
Ago,
but all of that takes guts. I think for most people to do, and they're all dreams that other people have. And on this podcast, we really like to dive into like, how do you get there? Because I think there's so many common myths and misconceptions about how you get started or what it looks like, or maybe you get a viral hit and that's it. But I know that, a career takes a lot more than that. You have to have hit after hit, and you have to keep evolving and growing. So let's start out with an easy one and go way back for you. Were you always a playful human, or did you ever have a real job? Were you like an accountant somewhere and then discovered music?
Ever. No, I knew from the first childhood job that I had that I was never, ever going to work a 9-to-5, and I've kept that promise. I will say I worked at Express, the clothing store, the summer of my senior year. I was blessed to have scholarships to go to college, but my mom was like, you still gotta, my parents were like, you gotta find money for like your dorm decorations and that stuff. And I lasted just that summer, and I was like, this is not it. And I was really lucky that since middle school, I made money playing like other people's weddings and events. I don't know who would trust their wedding to a sixth grader, but somebody did, right?
We have a lot of sixth grader. That's so funny. Yes, they must have been good friends of the family. We have two things in common already. I DJ'd at Express when I was in my 20s for the free clothes. They paid me to like DJ in the store when the jeans
It was all about the jeans. It was like, I was tall for my age at the time, and they were like one of the only stores where the jeans would go all the way down to your ankles when that was in style. And so I
did weddings as a DJ too.
No way.
So that's super fun.
Yeah.
When did you realize though that you could play for a living? Was it even when you were young playing the weddings and stuff that you're like, oh, I could get paid for this?
Yeah. My parents raised my sister and I to be extremely delusional. I mean, when they told us that we could do anything and be anything, like we literally believe them. We still, you're talking to someone who ran for president last year. So I'm still vibing on like, what do you mean? My dad said I could, so I'm going to do it. But as we were starting, I was thinking about how early play started. And even with classical music, I would never just stick to what was on a page. Like when I was practicing, I'd always like jazz up the rhythms and make like a hip hop version. And even today on stage, that's what I'm known for, is mixing genres. My keynote performances and concerts go from Rachmaninoff all the way to rap. And so I think there was this time, Mike, where I kind of decided I was just going to be who I wanted to be when I was a kid. And that was a combination of like a rock star, a superhero, Oprah Winfrey, you know, Michael Jordan, and the president. I was just going to be all of those things, right? And
That's
see
so
how
awesome.
it played out. And I'll tell you, I can't imagine living any other way. And even when I go to corporate rooms, I'm trying to get them to play, even on stage in that moment, to play with me.
Now, I guess I mentioned a little bit, but what does your career look like now? How do you play for a living, and how do you help people?
Yeah, so I would say I spend the majority of my time, and definitely will be the case in 2022, speaking mostly on corporate stages to companies who are really looking to generate momentum in life and business. I think what 2020 and 2021 taught us is that, first of all, work and life is intrinsically, it just is connected. And we kind of learned how important those connections were, or how important they weren't, and what was really valuable. And companies now are finally ready. We were asking them to do this 5 years ago, but they're now ready to say our people are just as important, if not more so, than the products and the services we offer. And if we aren't feeding them mind, body, and soul, we're going to lose them as people, and that's going to be bad for the bottom line as well. And so it's been a long time coming to see that pivot finally be made. And now we just feel so honored to be really sought after, because they know that's what we're coming to do.
Yeah, I love that. And now I've also found playful people, I think, tend to diversify a little bit. I interviewed DC from Tag Team on the podcast, and he was he's doing voiceovers and acting and on stage performing, but also like keynote speeches and all kinds of stuff. And I feel like you're a little bit that way too. Do you feel like that's what it takes to make a living at this, or do you feel like that's what creative people do? They just always express themselves in more than one way?
Well, I love that you made it sound so wonderfully professional, diversify, right? Before that, people would just say they're all over the place, right? And if you aren't careful, you can be all over the place. You can be flaky. Nothing can see profit, right? And so I think the key then, because I've never believed in picking one thing, and it frustrated so many teachers, pianists who could be like, you could be this amazing if you just played the piano, and I never felt like I was called to do one thing. And now I have a career that exists because I never picked the one thing, except the one thing for me was purpose. So once I felt like I'm called to activate people into operating in a bigger and bolder way, I can now do whatever I want, as long as I'm creating that reaction in the people that I'm serving, whether it's through my art, through speaking, through preaching, through writing, whatever it is. That's the end goal. And that gives me the freedom, Mike, to do a lot of things. But I think the responsibility then is, and my parents said this when I was bringing like the 6th instrument home and the 3rd sport, and the student council.
You got to get good at and learn how to play one of these. Yeah.
So their thing was, you can do whatever, but you have to operate excellence in every area. And when you start operating below potential, below excellence, that's going to be the thing we give up. So basketball went to high school, and that was about it. I was not headed to the WNBA as much as I wanted to think so. And piano was the thing that stuck, and speaking was the thing that came very naturally. And the two things now have combined to create lots of opportunities in writing and coaching in these different avenues, as you talked about.
Yeah, there's so much to unpack there. A couple of thoughts came to mind for me. Number one, I played basketball in high school too, but that was not my sport. I got stuck at 6'2", and that's impressive in like 8th grade. But when you're still 6'2" in senior year, it's not so great anymore. But I think that's funny too, that some of those passions can die out and you can pivot and they're not interesting anymore. And I think some people struggle with this. We talked about this a little bit on the How to Succeed podcast about once you find your purpose, there are still bad days, right? Did you ever get burnt out on something? Like I think, especially thinking music, the amount of practice and stuff it takes to be good, like that's effort. That's not all fun and games. And then the Miss America pageant you talked about too, runner up is not necessarily fun. It certainly beats a lot of other alternatives, but
it's hard.
That's not a great day. And I'm guessing there is also like a shelf life for that too. You're not going to be a pageant model for the rest of your life. So how do these things work out for you? Do they burn out? Do they just evolve into something else? What does that look like?
Yeah, I think the key is evolution. And for better or for worse, Mike, if I wanted to compete in pageants, there's still pageants that will have me. And no shade to anyone who's competing in the adult pageants, but I remember being on the stage at Miss America and thinking, even if I'd won, I was first runner up. So as I was joking with your listeners on the other podcast, that's the lady who's standing there that gets dragged off once they crown the winner. But I remember thinking, even if I'd won, I did not want that to still be at the top of my resume 10 years from now, 20, right. The guy who comes back to the high school because he won the football championship like 30 years ago. I didn't want to be that guy. And so I think they do evolve. Basketball, I still played in college, but that meant I was like doing pickup games, at the local gym. That wasn't my major, right? And I wasn't going to play professionally, and I had to come to terms with that. But it also wasn't something I really wanted. And I think in life, sometimes as adults, we find ourselves doing the things we can do. And a lot of times that takes up the space for the things we should be doing. So maybe this isn't a good advertisement, but a lot of times I'm doing my speaking and people will email months later and go, after you came, I quit my job. And I'm like, oh my God, what happened? But it's like, they're excited because something was activated and they realize I'm good at this. I can do it. I've always done it, but I feel called to do something else or to do it somewhere else or to do it on my own in my own business. And so, and even we tell companies when that happens, what that means is organically, the people who need to be with you are further magnetized into the purpose of the company. And you don't want to hold on to people who really feel like they should be somewhere else. But I should say it doesn't happen often, but we get emails about people having these big epiphanies in these moments.
Yeah, those are great. And they can be entrepreneurs too, right? They can redefine a role inside an organization.
That's right.
And stuff. But what about for you personally, when you get burnout or you find your energy run, how do you reconnect with your purpose or find that reason to either keep going or find something new?
Yeah, I want to be fully transparent here to say that I think one of my superpowers is that I'm kind of the Energizer bunny. And I think uncovering purpose earlier in my career has created a long shelf life in terms of not really experiencing burnout as most people describe it. Now, what I will get to is a point of there are certain emotions that I know are not native to me. And what I mean by that is I believe we have default emotions. So my default emotion is frustration. That's like, unfortunately, one of my best friends, right? And so if I feel frustration, that tells me, I know now after years of investigating, that if I feel frustrated, it's almost always connected to help that I have not yet asked for. And I'm walking around trying to do everything and then resentful that nobody's helping me, but I'm not going to ask for help because they should know I need help and blah, blah, blah. That's a default emotion. Frustration, I know how to deal with it. If I feel anxiety, that's not native to me. I'm not used to that. So that alerts me to something is out of place, out of balance, needs to be tweaked. You're saying yes to too many things because you don't feel anxious, Jade. So if you feel overwhelmed or anxiety, you need to respond to that in a very concentrated way. So I think I've gotten really good at identifying the roots of emotions, which I believe should be signals. And I try to listen very carefully to what they're telling me. And I think that has extended the amount of time I'm able to keep going.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. Now, we alluded to this earlier, but some people think it's all, sunshine and rainbows, that if I just get here or just get this opportunity or something, that from then on, it's happily ever after. And I'm wondering for you, what stood in the way of you keep finding or keeping success in that way to be able to play for a living? Because I know that even when you're in your purpose and you're doing something you're really great at, it's still not super easy. There are still bad days or hurdles you have to get over, opportunities missed. What was it like for you?
And I think there are two different things here, right? I actually believe that when you discover purpose, things get harder because now you have a mandate to say yes to purpose, to say no to everything else, which sometimes means you're turning down opportunity. And so I help people identify what's really an opportunity or a distraction or a detour. And so hard is to be expected and really to be celebrated, because if you're being presented with hard challenges, it means you're built for them. But then there's, like you said, the negative stuff that just doesn't feel good, the loss or the disappointment or the rejection. And I think we talked about this a bit in the other podcast, to be able to reframe and understand what's happening for you has been really key for me, versus why is this happening to me, which takes up a lot of time. I mean, that question, which you can't even answer it. Why is this negative thing happening, right? There's no answer to it. But when you ask, why is it happening for me? You can find so many answers in that. And so I think the blessing of being able to do what you want to do and being a go-getter is that you get to go get, but it doesn't always mean that the getting is easy, like you're saying. And I think owning up to that and understanding that's a part of the liberty and freedom of being able to do what we want to do and chase what we want to chase is that we're not always going to catch it. And if you are a high level achiever, if you're a person who is going after something big, I guarantee you, as soon as you get it, you're going to be thinking about the next thing that you need to be going after.
Yeah. Well, you set me up there, because I wanted to get to some fun stuff. We talked about all the hard things and the bad stuff. Let's talk about some good things. What is the next goal for you? What is on your fun bucket list or your career bucket list of things that you want to accomplish?
Oh, wow. We had a sudden increase just the last few weeks of engagements for 2022. So you and I talked about just wanting to be back live and in person. So we have some of my dream clients, like these were names we were putting on a board. Like we want to do something with Chick-fil-A or Nike. And the other day we got the call from Chick-fil-A. I really hope I can say that, but we got that call, right? And so it's like, now we're in this space of going to companies that are household name companies that I swear we keep the lights on at Chick-fil-A, and Mod Pizza is another one, as much as we go there every week. So it's really cool now to be interacting with companies whose values are similar to my own. It's a very special moment. So I feel like we're checking some things off the bucket list really early. It's really cool.
I love that. And you mentioned a couple of things. I know you have children and a long time husband there too, which is great. What do you do for fun? What's just like, no, I'm not trying to monetize it. This is just for me.
Yeah,
what's fun?
Well, I love to laugh, and my mom, she could be biased, but she always says, if you don't make it in any of the other things, you could be a comedian. And so I'm not happy until people are rolling on the floor laughing. And I'm married to my high school sweetheart, and we laugh every day. It's just something that to me is huge humor. And I try to take it to the stage whenever possible, whether it's expected, and especially when it's unexpected.
That's the best kind.
Yeah, it's the best. It's the best. So, I like disarming people with humor. And for me, laughter is huge. And so I look for those opportunities whenever I can find it.
Any other final advice you would give to maybe younger people who haven't decided if they want to go the normal career path, check everything, all the boxes and work for retirement, or somebody that's maybe middle-aged and having that middle-aged renaissance and thinking like, that pandemic and everything, and maybe the way my company treated me it's got me rethinking what I want to do with my life or even how I want to do it. What advice would you give for those people?
I'm always careful, because I know from coaching that everybody, at least fundamentally, they don't feel built to be an entrepreneur. But I do believe, and I love how you said entrepreneur, I do believe that most of us are operating too small in the spaces we're in. And so my challenge would be, why not? I mean, these last 2 years kind of taught us, what are we waiting on again? And I always say to my coaching clients, what's the worst that can happen? If it's really not death, then you might as well go for it. And I think you can trust yourself enough to know that even if this isn't quite the right move, or if it doesn't take off like I want, I can always go back, right, to doing whatever was safe. But I think while we have breath in our lungs, I think we realize how much of a luxury it is to just wake up the next day and be able to draw breath. Why not use that to do something that is rewarding for you and possibly for others as well?
I love it. Do you want to play a game, Jade?
Yes, let's play. Let's play. What do you got?
All right. I have a wheel of games. There are 10 games that it could land on, and you got Survey says.
Oh, yay.
We surveyed 100 people. The top answers on the cards here. All you have to do to win the game is get one of the top answers on the card.
Okay.
Here is one. Where might a school bus take a student besides school?
Field trip.
Field trip is the number one answer. There you go. You got it. Sporting event. Home is a good answer too.
Yeah.
Museum, zoo, or picnic.
Yeah.
Yeah. Name a public place where you might see parents disciplining their children.
School.
School is up there. Number 3, store, the mall, park or a field, and a restaurant.
See, my kids know better. My kids know better. So I don't have any answers for that.
All right. I'm going to give you a choice here. I have 2 fun ones about your spouse, or we can just go with one about a more generic.
Let's do my spouse. That'll put him on the spot a bit. Let's see what we get.
Okay, good. I'm going to give you both of them then, just because it sounds fun. Name a reason you might make your spouse get out of the bed in the middle of the night.
Oh, gosh. To turn the air conditioning off.
Oh, air is a good one. It's not in the top one there. It's check a noise, snoring, attend to a baby, sick, or a glass of water. All right.
He often tells me to check the noise, and then we fight over that. It's like, I'm not, you gotta check the noise.
Exactly. Yeah. You check it.
You check it. He's like, why is the guy more expendable? And I'm like, I didn't make the rules, but you're supposed to check it.
Same thing. My wife is 5'2". I'm 6'2", as I mentioned, and she'll be like, go check it. I'm like, I can't do anything you're not gonna do. I'm not a ninja.
Our rule is every man for himself. It's like before we had kids. So we used to love horror movies. So whenever we saw like these idiotic situations, we're like, dude, like, don't try to save me. Keep moving. Some of us
don't go back in the house.
Right?
Yeah. Get out of here and call the police.
Yes, exactly.
All right. Well, that's awesome. I think it's a great place to end on, but I'm going to give one more because I feel like we're onto something here. Name something cats and men have in common.
Oh gosh. Oh, I don't know. I don't know that one.
I don't have that. See, I should have quit while I was ahead.
No.
Something men and cats have in common.
They're hairy?
Harry is on there. There you go. That's number 4. Nicely done. That'll get you your 3rd point.
There you go.
Love sleeping or being lazy is up there. Sneaky. I'm not sure I agree with that. Finicky or stubborn. Well, I do agree with number 6, though. They like petting.
That's true. That's true.
I'll take a back scratch any day.
Yeah.
All right, Jade, for playing our game, you win a free 30-second commercial here. Anything that we can do, asks or gives for the audience, how can we help you?
Yeah, keep your eyes peeled. We have a new book coming out on purpose called The Definitive Guide to Purpose, period. And my life's goal at this point is to make sure that you know you already have purpose in you and you get to live the rest of your life operating in that purpose. So stay tuned for that.
That is awesome. And find her at jadesimmons.com or follow her on Instagram. That is the best social media to pay attention to these days. Jade Simmons, professional speaker, musician, former presidential candidate, and was Miss America contestant as well. That's so much fun. I love it. Check her out, jadesimmons.com. Check out Playful Humans at playfulhumans.com. But more importantly, share this episode with somebody that you think needs to hear it. I think that's the best way to create a win-win for all of us. So have fun, go play, everybody, and we'll see you next time. Have a good one. Don't wait for tomorrow. This is the piano ending for you.
I like it.
Keep on chasing the sunshine.
Go play, everybody.
Nice. Yay, that was fun.